Hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here. And if you've ever been called a fussy eater or unreasonable at trying new foods, you might get some value from this particular session, because I was working with a client that had a very restricted ability to try new foods because of the way they thought about them, the texture, the look, sometimes the smell. And it meant that they had a very small selection of foods that they felt comfortable with. What was interesting, though, is that some of these foods they initially disliked, and then they acquired the taste. They learned to like them. And that's really what this session is all about. And for this particular client, they felt comfortable with things like chips and bread. They were getting comfortable with chicken and pizza. And they were very comfortable with biltong, even though that was something they really didn't like originally. But they wanted to like more meats and they wanted to like more cheeses. And that's really what you're going to hear in this particular session. It uses a couple of different metaphors. So one is this idea of a ski slope, because what they found is that the first 4 or 5 times they tried a food, that was really hard work. They had to really kind of spend time motivating themselves to try it, but then it got easier and easier. So that's like climbing to the top of a ski slope, and then the sliding down is the easy bit. But also a gym, and that's because most exercises require reps. You can't simply do the thing once and then you're strong. So it has this element of the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I think this does apply for foods, but it also is applying to anything you haven't tried before. Could be a new skill. It might be something that you see other people doing, like creating social media content, and you don't do that. And you could think of that being 40 reps, that the first 5 reps would be difficult, and then it would get easier and easier until it becomes effortless. So just to get the most out of this session, I would encourage you to think of something in your life that you would like to be able to either do, eat, or consume, but you don't feel that you can at the moment. And then think of that in this hypnosis session, because I think a few people would benefit from expanding their food palette. Many more people would expand or improve their life if they could do things that they're not currently doing, and that's expanding the comfort zone. So the best way to enjoy this session is to find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and on the outward breath, allow your eyelids to close. That's it. And as you breathe in a deep feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow yourself to release any feelings of stress or tension. That's it, feeling it leave your body in your outward breath. When you breathe in deeper than you normally would. And as you exhale, just allow the exhale to go on that little bit longer, really feeling like you're emptying your lungs. That's it. Breathing in and breathing out, and just deciding to let go of any thoughts, any worries, any stress. Just feel it leaving your body, and notice that the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you become, and the more relaxed you become, the deeper you breathe, as it feels like a way of accessing a place in your mind where change can take place. And I wonder if you could imagine I want you to imagine a ski slope, and at the bottom of the ski slope is a doorway to a gym. And I want you to imagine that this ski slope, you have to climb up. There's no ski lift here. You have to walk, and it's difficult. And I want you to imagine that the equivalent of 5 or 10 is what it feels like to climb up this ski slope. And you could imagine when you're at the top, having skis, a snowboard, or even if you like, just a sled. The kind of thing that as a child you had fun going down a hill. And I want you to get a sense that the hard work was climbing up. The easy bit is to slide down. And as I count down from 5 to 1, I want you to imagine sliding down this ski slope. And when you get to the end, you're going to feel really relaxed. And then you're going to walk into that gym. But let's start sliding down there in the snow. 5. Feeling that ease of just sliding down. 4. Picking up pace. Nothing you really need to do, just steer in the right direction. Gravity is doing all of the work here. And then 2, sliding down even more. And then 1, getting to the bottom and just feeling that was fun, that was easy. And then imagine a door to the gym, your own private gym. I want you to imagine it's got lots of different equipment and weights. So I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. And you will imagine opening the door, walking through the door, and closing the door behind you. 5. Putting your hand on the handle. 4. Turning the handle. 3. Opening the door. 2. Walking through the door. And 1. Closing the door behind you. And now imagine walking around your gym. Different exercises, different weights represent different foods. And I want you to see a weight that represents a food that you feel really comfortable with. Maybe eating toast or a piece of fruit. And just imagine picking up that weight and it feels light and easy. That you can do that thing so it doesn't feel challenging at all. And then I want you to see some kind of machine or weight that represents maybe chicken or pizza. It's not become easy yet, but it's doable. It feels like if you lift that weight, you can do it. Still challenging, but not as challenging as when you started. And I want you to come to the conclusion that that is because you've done the reps. You've done that so many times before that once it was difficult and it's now doable. And then I want you to imagine seeing a weight that represents biltong. And as you lift that weight up, it feels light as a feather because it represents complete comfort of being able to eat that food. And as you lift the weight, I want you to think back to the very first time that you tried it. And maybe remember that you didn't like it, but you persisted. You kept doing the reps. And I want you to remember that the first 5 attempts were the hardest. But 2 was easier than the first, and the 3rd time was easier than the 2nd, and the 4th time was even easier. And by the 5th or 6th time, it didn't feel such a challenge. And by the 10th time, sometimes you even did it without thinking. And I don't know if it was the 15th, the 20th, or the 25th time, but there would have been a time that not only did it not require effort or any kind of tenacity, actually it became desirable and easy for you. And at that point, you've mastered that particular exercise by doing the reps consistently. And if you could remember not liking it, but because you ate it many times, you did like it, I want you to tap into that idea of acquiring a taste. And if we've activated the part of the mind that acquires a taste, just let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And I want you to think about that chicken and pizza. But now you've acquired a taste. Now you get to experiment with different variations. Like any exercise, once you do the basic, you can vary it. Many people learn how to do a squat or a bench press. But once you know how to do that, on the bench press, maybe you do incline, decline. Maybe you do drop sets. And on the squat, maybe you change your posture, the position of your feet. And each time you get stronger and stronger because you're exercising new muscles. And I want you to think of that chicken and pizza. And you could think that there's so many different ways of preparing chicken, so many different chicken meals. Sometimes chicken is an ingredient in something else like a stir fry, or inside some kind of pastry. Maybe it's a new way of having it. And I want you to think of that as varying the exercise. And the more reps that you do of that, the easier it becomes. And with pizza, you could change the ingredients of the base, the different toppings. Or maybe you have that folded pizza. Some people call it a calzone. And I want you to get a feeling that a folded pizza means you can't even see the cheese because it's all inside. But I want you to feel that you're unleashing a desire to vary things slightly. And each time you vary something that you know you can already do, you are increasing your ability to have more choice. And then I want you to think of what exercises would represent certain meats. And you've definitely done these exercises before, but maybe not as often as you could. And I want you to get a sense that sometimes people go to a gym and try and do an ego lift, find the heaviest weights, and it gives their ego a bit of a boost, even if they can do one rep. of a heavy weight with bad form and bad posture. But you understand it's better to start easy and build your way up. So why wouldn't you think of a way of making steak feel easy? And maybe that's changing the environment where you eat it. Or maybe that's changing the portion size. Or maybe the cut. Maybe on the previous times you've had steak, it's been a rump steak. And maybe you change it to a sirloin or a fillet. When you change the cut, or you change the environment, and you change the portion size, I want you to get a sense that you are exercising your ability to feel comfortable eating steak. And I want you to imagine you've already done the hardest reps. Those first few times are always the most difficult. And now it feels like you're sliding down a ski slope, easier and easier. Every time you eat, it's easier than the last, until it's effortless, just like it is with biltong. And then I want you to think of pork and all the different types of pork. And you know for sure that you can eat pork because you like bacon. So then you come to the conclusion that you already like pork. All you're doing is getting used to the different types of pork or the way that it's presented. But it still feels like you're sliding down that ski slope. The hard work is behind you. And just imagine it gets easier and easier, just like it does when you're lifting weights. That's why people have to increase the weight size. And the equivalent of that with food would be increasing the quantity of that food that you eat. Maybe you start with a tiny small burger and then make it a quarter pounder or two in one meal. I want you to feel that the more you try, attempt, the easier it becomes. Because the equivalent of muscle fibers in a bicep or a shoulder are neural pathways in the brain. The more you do something, the more pathways are created, and the more mentally strong you get in that particular area. And I want you to think what it would be like to have done this at least 40 or 50 times with each of those different types of meats. And if you could imagine a time when it feels easy. It's easy to eat that steak. It's easy to have that burger or that sausage. Just let me know by nodding your head. And then I want you to see an area of the gym that is even more challenging, because the exercises are unfamiliar. Just allow this section of the gym to represent cheese in all of its different varieties. But I want you to get a sense that you're going to use strategies that you learned for other exercises here. And to begin with, those first reps, which are the hardest, why not make cheese an invisible ingredient? You can't even see it. I want you to imagine making a cheese sandwich in a sandwich maker. 2 slices of bread, the cheese in between, and it just melts it. But all you can really see, because it is inside, is what looks like toasted bread. And just imagine maybe the first 5 reps are that. And then you graduate to something else, maybe cheese inside 2 crackers. It's there, but it's not immediately visible. I want you to get a sense that you are 40 times away from feeling comfortable eating cheese. And you know that's true because you're already eating cheese on the pizza anyway. All you're doing is creating more variety as to how you eat that cheese. And maybe that's a slice, a chunk, or grated cheese. But after maybe 30 or 40 times, maybe you try a different type of cheese. Soft cheeses that are spreadable. Perhaps hard cheeses that you can grate and put on top of food. Or those medium cheeses like cheddar that you can just have as an ingredient or have on your plate alongside other food, and just every now and then eat the food you like and try the food you're trying to like. Knowing that even if you don't like it in that moment, you're still getting the reps in to increase the probability that sooner or later you'll figure out what cheeses you like, what meats you like, and just feel that you are creating a snowball effect. Because the more foods you try and attempt, the more reps you get in, the easier it becomes. And the easier it becomes, the more variety you can introduce, as it feels like it compounds. Each time you try a food you like, you can try all the different foods that are similar to that food, knowing you're probably going to like them. And I want you to get a sense of imagining yourself 1 year from now, and just observe yourself eating foods like chicken and pizza like it's nothing. See yourself having a cheese sandwich or cheese on toast or cheese with something else. Maybe you could imagine yourself a year from now eating a lasagna. Layers of cheese and layers of meat. Not because you have to, but because you want to. But that's a year from now. And we don't start with a lasagna. We start with different meats and different cheeses, knowing that it could lead that way. Or maybe see yourself celebrating a special occasion with a big steak and chips and something else nearby. And just get a sense that your future is a future of an expanded palette. More choices, more options, but no coercion or obligations. You don't have to eat anything you don't want to. But by trying foods, you get to figure out which ones become an acquired taste. Which ones that you didn't initially like, and then you learn to love. And many foods are like that. And if you could imagine a future version of you feeling much more comfortable eating meats and cheeses, chicken and pizza, but also other foods as well, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. It's time to leave that gym. But you leave the gym knowing that nobody gets strong going to the gym once. It is about consistency and increasing difficulty. If someone went to the gym and only ever lifted the lightest weights, it would reach a point where, what's the point? The point is consistency, and increasing challenges. And I want you to feel that you are weight training your mind to do things that initially might feel challenging, but knowing that they get easier and easier the more that you do it. See that ski slope and see a snowball rolling down, picking up speed. I want you to get a sense that the snowball effect is now within you. Things start off slow and difficult, and then get easier and easier until new things happen all by themselves. So as you plant that seed of an idea, it's time to leave this place and return back to the present moment. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of The Hypnotist. And if you've got some value from this episode, I'd like to ask a favor. And that is that all of the platforms have some way of you telling us that you like it. And that might be hitting the like button, that might be giving it a 5-star rating or a short review. And if it's possible, and it is on Spotify and YouTube, if you can drop a comment with what value you got from the show or anything you liked in particular, that really helps the algorithm to put it in front of new people. Thank you so much again for joining me on this episode, and I'll see you again soon in the next one.